Father's Day. Welcome to Cami's Cooking Hour with your host, moi. We have two segments to today's show. First is knife skills, and second is sharpening your knives. So first, let me introduce you to my assistant, Blue Moon, aptly named because it is part of the Woodstock Le Cordon Bleu series. I first want to give some pointers on holding your knife. So you and Mom prefer to hold it on the handle, just like this, which is good. But nowadays I prefer a different grip called pinch grip, where you're holding partially on the handle and partially on the blade, and you're actually pinching the blade. And the advantage of this is you actually have better control over your blade, and it prevents the knife from rolling on you. You can also think of it as more of an extension of your hand. Now we'll move on to the slicing demonstration. The first thing you want to do is you want to form a triangle. So the knife is one side of the triangle, the food is another, and your body forms the third, thus a triangle. When holding your food, professional chefs actually put their fingertips on the food and they curl it over, like so. And they're sure to tuck their thumb in as well in order to avoid cutting their thumb. They then use one of the knuckles as a guide for slicing. However, I'm not a professional chef, so I still hold my food like this, and I just make sure I don't cut my fingers. For the blade, the motion that you're aiming for is a rocking motion. So you start with the blade touching the cutting board and slicing through, rocking back and forth. You want to make sure that you're not putting too much downward pressure, because that will squish your food. You want to rely on the sharp cutting edge and just slice through the food. So putting that all together, start with the blade touching the board. Like so. And a short demonstration on chopping. All done! Now on to sharpening your knives. This is a truing steel, which you should be using every time you use your knives. It aligns the cutting surface. However, contrary to popular Lao household belief, it does not sharpen your knives, which is what inspired this whole Father's Day present anyways. The truing steel that I did give you is made out of a diamond steel, which is harder than regular steel, and it's better for truing your knives. So now you ask, how do you sharpen your knives if that was just truing them? Well, first you need to decide if you really do need to sharpen your knives. And there are a couple of different tests you can do to see if your knives are still sharp. One test that you can do is by actually just feeling the blade of the knife. And I can demonstrate this here. You hold the blade up like this and lightly brush your thumb against the blade. And what you're looking for is how it feels on your thumb. If it is a sharp knife, it'll actually catch your thumb. If it's a dull knife, it'll feel smooth. Another test that you can do is the Big Pen test, which is holding the knife at a pretty sharp angle to the Big Pen and just kind of slicing down on it. And if it's a sharp knife, it'll actually catch, like so. If it's a dull knife, such as a butter knife, no chance that it's going to catch. And a medium sharp knife, sometimes it catches, sometimes it doesn't. Meaning some places it's sharp and some places it's dull. Now that you've decided that you need to sharpen your knives, let's take a look at how to do this using the sharpening stones. This is sharpening oil, which you use to fill the base of the sharpening system. If this is the first time that you're using the system, you'll have to soak each stone for a couple hours, like so. Please remember to do this for each of the 3 stones. You'll only have to do that the first time. For subsequent sharpening systems, you'll just need to briefly wet each stone in the oil. There are 3 stones that make up the sharpening system: a coarse, medium, and fine. You can tell which one is which by looking at the label on the side of the sharpening stone. For really dull knives, you'll want to start sharpening on the coarse stone, move to the medium, and then proceed to the fine. For knives that aren't so dull, you can start with the medium stone and then move on to the fine. And for a quick touch-up, you can just use the fine. A really dull knife will resemble a U shape, while a sharp knife will resemble a V shape. Please note that there are some knives out there that have only one sharp edge instead of two, and there's a whole different technique on how to sharpen that. Unfortunately, this is just Cami's cooking hour instead of Cami's cooking day, so we won't be covering that in this session. My apologies. When you are ready to sharpen your knives, you'll want to orient the sharpening system to be perpendicular to your body, like so.